Gun violence has become a hot topic within the past few years. After the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012, 35 shootings took place at a college or university campus, while 39 took place at an elementary or high school campus. We decided to take this scary national issue local, on our own grounds at Lemoyne College. We wanted to know, what is the threat, and is there a fear on campus? Our own Megan Cashone has the story.
It comes as no surprise anymore to see a headline on the news involving a campus shooting, but the students here at Lemoyne College have quite the variety of opinions as to whether or not Lemoyne will ever be a victim to gun violence.
Some of the housing development to the left, depending on which way you're looking at it, that some of the people that walk through there are very suspicious, especially late at night, and have said suspicious comments to certain students before.
I think that there is an ever-present fear because of all the violence that's gone on at other schools, and I think that the uncertainty of people on campus, you never really know what's going to happen.
I think that with the campus being so open, so people from the public in a regular street can kind of just walk right on campus. There's not really a lot of security with that. I think that there's always going to be that fear that it could happen because it's possible, and there really wouldn't be any way for us to kind of see it coming. So I think that there will always be that fear, especially after things like Columbine and, people walking into schools and just shooting and things like that. There's always going to be that fear because you would never see it coming.
And obviously I think it's something that a lot of people think about given what's been happening lately. But I think that myself and maybe other people think that because Lemoyne is such a tight-knit community and a small campus that people don't really think about that. But I think that it is something that's on most people's minds. So I do think about it. But in terms of it being a threat, I don't feel like it is, and I obviously hope that it's not.
I feel like there's always a threat, no matter where you are, but I don't walk around thinking that there's a threat. I feel extremely safe on this campus.
Even though many students feel the fear is always constant on campus, they feel like security does a fair job at protecting the school.
But I think Lemoyne handles it pretty well. Usually if there's a problem, they'll send out a text or an email letting everyone know.
I think we respond appropriately and we respond promptly. What I don't think is that we don't have a lot of preventative security measures for that, because I think that also has to do a lot with, racial climate of the school, where we are. We kind of assume that if you're not worried about violence against each other, we just totally don't even think about anything else. So I think that security measures in terms of preventing that stuff, like having security walk around campus and just, ask for IDs, because I've been to school where securities do that. They just ask for IDs to make sure that you go to the school. Randomly. We don't do things like that.
I think they do, yeah. I think they do a good job. I was an RA on campus, so I never had any problems with them. I think they can definitely improve in communicating with students, because I always felt like we were not let known of instances right away, and I don't think that helps the situation, because then, you walk around saying, if no one's going to tell me, how am I supposed to know? Finding out about an incident a couple of days later really doesn't help you. So I think that's the part that they can improve in, but I think they do the best that they can.
Regardless of the effort put in by security, one thing is for sure. Many students and faculty feel that security carrying guns doesn't solve the problem.
Honestly, even if you know how to handle a gun and you have had some experience or training in, let's say, police work, it's very difficult to foresee or predict what's going to happen. And having a gun, I think there is a temptation to use it. It's very difficult not to. So I'm opposed to anybody carrying guns on campus.
Obviously, they're such a powerful weapon that I think people would want somebody to have one, God forbid, in the event that there was an issue. But on the other hand, I personally would not feel comfortable walking around campus seeing somebody with a gun in their belt. I would not like that at all.
No way. I don't think so. They're not cops unless, they round around the buildings, and if any incident can happen. People are always running around, a gun can drop. I just see things going bad with that, and I don't think it's necessary. And I think then when you do that, you create this idea that maybe this isn't a safe place and we need to have that kind of a protection. I don't think there's anything wrong with having maybe a cop, just sitting and being there, maybe like, across the street or something, if that's an issue, or late at night. But for normal security guards to be carrying around guns, I think is just absurd and unnecessary.
But Xavier Schaefer feels otherwise. This student feels that letting security officers carry guns will help prevent gun violence.
I do, because like I said, I don't walk around thinking that something's going to happen, but there is never a time when something can't happen. And that thing that could happen anytime could be a shooting. So I feel like they should be readily prepared for anything and everything, and being prepared includes having weapons of not hand-to-hand contact weapons, I guess. There needs to be a threat of resolving conflicts other than hand-to-hand weapons, I guess. Yes.
But students do feel that stereotyping plays a huge role when talking about mass murders. Whether the stigma is based off age, gender, or race, stereotyping is never the answer.
I mean, likely, because I think people want to believe that if someone, is someone who's well-being and has no medical conditions, that you wouldn't want to harm others. So I think we want to think the best of people. And so when someone does something as bad as killing others, or harming others, then you want to think there must be something wrong. Like, it can't just be, a human being just wanting to do that just because, So I guess in that way, mental illness is always blamed for that reason.
The issue, I think one of the big issues is that in terms of mental illness, people aren't very educated about it, and that's such a big umbrella term. There are so many different types of issues that fall into mental illness, and a lot of problems that people have that are classified as mental illness they're not connected to violence at all. But I do think that some people who are uninformed and don't really know about various types of mental illnesses or just conditions that people have might be fearful and automatically assume that somebody who is dealing with something like that may be violent.
But one student, Danielle Lewis, feels that mass murders aren't based on anything. Shootings are just going to happen with or without tight security protection and avoidance of stereotypes.
For instance, let's look at the shooting in Washington. The kid that went in and shot up the school was a popular kid, had friends. He was totally the opposite from the kids at the Columbine shooting. So nobody expected that he would be the one to go in and shoot up the school and do what he did. Short of putting metal detectors in every building and having college kids and school kids walk through them and doing searches every day, you are not going to 100% without a doubt be able to prevent a shooting on a campus or in a school. There's no way. I don't care how tight you say your security is, or if you search dorms or whatever. You cannot guarantee that isn't going to happen.